So Joseph was bought into slavery, and Potiphar made him kind of ruler over his own house. And he was allowed to kind of have the run of everything, but the only thing he could not do was touch his wife. Pretty reasonable. It didn't take long for Potiphar's wife to notice Joseph. He was a strapping, good-looking young man, like yourself right there, sir. And she would constantly make passes at him, and Joseph would turn and run. So Potiphar's wife had this great idea: if I could just engage Joseph's libido, there's no way he would be able to resist me. So she waited for a moment, she grabbed a hold of him and pleaded with him. And Joseph said, "Hey, stop it. Your husband, my master, has made me ruler over everything. All I have to do is not touch you. I will not defile myself or God." So he took off running. And when he did that, he lost his clothes because it was just like a robe. So he ran out of the house butt naked. And she made up the story about how he tried to rape her and he got thrown in prison. But because he held to a higher standard, God used the Romans 8:28 and worked all things to good. Joseph was able to be lifted into a position where he was able to help other believers, his family, when hard times came, because he held to another standard. Now, so you have Joseph, who was faced with sexual temptation, turned and run from it, and God lifted him up to help other people. Now, if you compare him to Samson, again, I don't know, I would be so thrilled if Samson was in my church. He's a Christian. Hebrews calls him, puts him in the heroes of faith, but he was a drinker. He was a brawler. He liked to grab, I don't know, ass jawbones and defeat armies with it. I just don't see him like in youth group. It's just crazy. He was a gambler. He lost his fiancée in a bet. And Samson had one downfall. He really liked the ladies.
Guys, we gotta go.
And he met up with this girl named Delilah. And I'm guessing that she was probably pretty hot, pretty enticing. And Samson started having a thing with her, and the Philistine army saw their friendship. And they pulled Delilah aside and said, "Listen, we'll pay you a lot of money if you find out the secret to Samson's strength." So she agreed to it, and each time she would try to get Samson to say, "Hey, what's the secret of your strength?" And he would come up with some cockamamie story of what it was, and then she would tell the Philistines, and the Philistines would break in, and he would defeat them. And she would say, "Samson, why do you do this? Why are you making a fool out of me?" And Samson would say, "Okay, let me tell you." But each time he would do that, he would compromise a little more and get to the truth, get to the truth, get to the truth. And finally, he tells the truth of his strength. And Delilah tells the Philistines, here's the secret of his strength. It's his hair. If you cut his hair, he'll be bound. And that's what they do. So the Philistine army comes on him. He thinks he's going to fight his way out of it. He can't, because he lost his hair, and he's carried into captivity. Now, Samson got his eyes burned out, poked out. He's in captivity, and for fun, the enemies would grab Samson and bring him out just to laugh at him. And Samson is a warning to all carnal Christians. Sexual sin is a trap. Delilah was a trap. And you can play around with it here and play around with it there, but eventually it will grab you and pull you into captivity. And if you're caught in that, Satan will pull out, he'll call up, screw tape and get all the boys together, and he'll grab you like they did Samson and pull him out for a good laugh. Look at this, the child of the Most High, enslaved to sin. So again, you have an example of where Joseph, because he decided to choose the right, don't like saying that, but hold to a higher standard. Let's say that instead, choose the right.
It's Jewish.
Huh? Am I getting mocked? And then you had Samson, who didn't choose the right. Can you see how Joseph was effective in his faith? And how Samson was not?